are some terrific performances, of course, happening today with some great stars, but let's face it, there's really nothing sexier than discussing regulatory affairs, am I right? Okay, so today, just a really quick talk about it. My name, Jesse Weiner. I'm Suponic's U.S. legal counsel. And there's going to, as Mr. John mentioned, there's going to be great Suponic moving into the U.S. with esports, and we could talk about that for hours. But we're not. We're just going to give a brief overview of cryptocurrency in the U.S. and exchanges and how that's working out in the U.S. presently. But first, really quickly, just an overview, and I should have the clicker, the overview of the world as far as cryptocurrency goes. Now, I know Sam talked about a little bit of Europe, so I'll just jump through this. Of course, places like Switzerland, you know, should be Crypto Valley, lots going on there, almost no regulation, right? India, not currently regulated exchanges, but in Singapore, a great place for a lot of, 4 of the 10 largest cryptocurrency ICOs happened there last year. China, unfortunately, tries to make trading cryptocurrencies illegal. And European Union, of course, as I said, we heard from Sam on that. Lots of different, each different country in European Union basically has different rules. So a lot going on there. US, though, is a little bit complicated. And there hasn't been a lot of ICOs in the US because US investors generally cannot invest because there's a lot of different, there's a large patchwork of different agencies that want to regulate US cryptocurrencies and ICOs. So what are some of those? What's the problem? Why is the US not having, why is it complicated in the US? Because we have so many agencies that want to get involved and regulate cryptocurrency. So for instance, CFTC, Commodities Futures Trading Commission, they've said, well, cryptocurrency is a commodity, so we're going to regulate it. Then we have FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, says cryptocurrencies are currency, and they want to protect against money laundering and other like terrorist activities kinds of things. So they say, well, we're going to regulate that as well. IRS, Internal Revenue Service, the tax agency. Of course, tax agencies always want to tax everything they can, right? So they've called cryptocurrency not a capital, but property. So basically, almost any trade, whether you win or lose, is taxed in some form or fashion. Terrible, right? Yes, it's true. And of course, the big bad boy SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, and have wanted to call cryptocurrencies a security. So therefore, the SEC can regulate it, and if we're going to do an ICO or other kind of private transaction, we should register our ICO. However, the U.S. may be at a turning point, because you realize, I mean, like every other country, the U.S. likes money, and we've lost a lot of it over the past couple of years with all these ICOs that the U.S. is losing. Well, the states have thought, you know, we have a federal kind of, we have national laws and state laws, and states have thought, hey, we can actually start being more positive, have incentives for cryptocurrency. So just for example, some states, for instance, Arizona, have legalized smart contracts. Delaware, the very pro-business state, has said, you know, registration of shares will be through blockchain. Vermont, using for civil and criminal cases, blockchain evidence can be used. And of course, Ohio, taxes can be paid by crypto. At this point, only Bitcoin, but who knows, maybe later on, our coin. Now, when I was saying that the U.S. might be at a turning point, it's because finally some congressmen, actually just very recently, just last month, in fact, have said, hey, you know, there's so many different agencies regulating cryptocurrency. States have lost so much money from this. Why don't we try to have some kind of laws that we can enact that will make everything much more efficient so we can sort of bypass CFTC, SEC, IRS, maybe not bypass them, but at least get them to be more efficient to work towards one goal of having investors understand how they can invest and that the ICOs will be legal and cryptocurrencies understood. So basically, just to give a little idea of what this bill might do. So first of all, we'll get a definition of crypto assets and digital tokens. One problem is, what's the definition of cryptocurrency? Is it a security, or is it a separate asset class? The congressmen here are going to call them a separate asset class. So not registered simply as a security or as property, as the IRS has tried to do. Plus, they will also, they will not be, excludes them from being recognized as a security, exactly. So we don't have to register every ICO with the SEC, essentially. And maybe even better, as far as taxation goes, you'll see impose an exemption for capital gains taxes on transactions that do not exceed 600, because as I said, almost every transaction, whether you win or lose, is taxed. So the US is finally coming around. We don't know when the new law will be around, when it will be enacted, but hopefully sometime this year. So that's the US. So and also generally speaking, when we're talking about laws and regulations of cryptocurrency, it's not always so great if there are no laws. I mean, there are certain jurisdictions where there's very few laws and you can just have an ICO, but most investors can be very wary and should be wary. So it's nice to have countries that do regulate to some degree so that investors will be protected. And that's all this is saying. So basically, the pros of these regulations, you're going to have less fraud, more validity, recognition, right? Good for investors, higher standards, more efficiency, but of course the cons, if you have more regulation, it'll be slower and prevent from actually maybe going forward, and even could potentially interrupt progress. That is also true. So what's happening next? Well, as I was saying, basically, in the US, hopefully we're going to have new laws that are going to make things go much more smoothly going forward. But also for ourselves, what can we do to have more efficiency? And when we are doing our own ICO or looking at a cryptocurrency, we want to be careful of a couple of things. We should look to, is the jurisdiction, is there registration, or is it an exemption from registration for our cryptocurrencies? You see, maybe let's say in a place like Cayman Islands, you don't actually have to register your cryptocurrency or your ICO. But then again, there's very little safeguards for investors. We want to have in our disclosures, adequate disclosures so investors know what they're getting into. Of course, pumping and dumping is bad. You probably know what that is. People try to, early investors might try to raise the price just to sell out and have other investors get left holding the bag. Nobody likes that, of course. And there should not be crazy claims of 1,000, 10,000% profits. We don't want to say those kind of things. And of course, we want to be sure that there's compliance with everything that we're doing for cryptocurrency. And that is pretty much, as I told you, short, right? Even though regulation, as I said, is of course very sexy. Still, we want to keep it short. So thank you, Chairman Jay, so much for this opportunity. We are moving into the US, as I said, in esports and in exchange. So I look forward to seeing all of you in the US. And by the way, I'm in Southern California. It is so cold here. But well done, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great day.